Now that this is completely dried, I'm going to put some leaves on, add a little more detail with the roses. So I'm going to start, I want to imply that this rose comes sort of here, and that there might even be a little bit of a leaf on that. So I just want to put a little bit of pink here. Don't want to lose the light there, but I do want to imply that there's some pink. And because the paper is dry, I'm just going to get my stippling brush and just blend this in. So there will literally just be the implication here that the pink goes beyond that little area there. So it's just a suggestion. I might put a little bit of pink there as well. Okay, back with our pyramid brush. And I'm just going to put a few little petals here. Something like this. So I'm going to diffuse these in a minute. I want this to come from about here. I want to keep some light, so I'm pressing and releasing the brush. Press here and then release. So I'm getting some lovely, just that feeling that there's more petals. And then if I want to just diffuse the outer edge, I'll have my Deerfoot Stippler and I'll just literally catch that edge. So you're getting some sections that are in focus and some that are not. I kind of want that to be a little bit out of focus there, because we're going to put a little center in there which will bring the eye back to the focus, the center. Then I want sort of a couple of little petals here, but not too much. And again, I'm going to use this brush just to diffuse that a little bit. So I've got a nice clean stroke on one end and a soft focus on the other. So it's the best of both worlds, really. Then here, I think I'm going to imply that there's some buds in the background. So I'm just going to put a little bud in the foreground here. So something like that there. So whilst that's wet, into the midnight green, a little bit of country olive. Just take the I don't want it too dark, so take a little of the dark out and press that. Just, that will imply nicely that that's tucked behind, and then we'll start to put in these leaves. Now I want this one to look a little bit diffused, so quite strong pigment and a little bit of a jaggedy edge to it. I want it to look like it's got some serrated edges, so I'm just going to lift my brush occasionally, and that will just sort of imply a serrated edge. And then just a few little veins. Then back to using my golden leaf brush. Open the brush out, and then I'm just going to diffuse that as well. Now, if the green has come onto the pink and I don't want it, this is when I get my brush and just diffuse that slightly. So that's really quite soft, and I like that because I'll probably come and use a brighter colour here. Just a little bit of this bright yellow gold. I might just add a little of this here. So we have a little bit of brightness there, and that will just touch the underside of that leaf. Then I'm going to let's put some nice leaves here. I'm going to put a little bit of this bright here. So with an inverted brush, you can make the leaves this way or this way. I prefer it this way. I like to mould in the shape that the leaf grows, but you don't need to, you can do it either ways. So I'll show you the other way, this way. You can do this, and by doing this you'll get sometimes a little nibbled edge, which actually is very realistic, because leaves are not always absolutely perfect, whereas if you start at the tip you often paint them quite perfectly. So that can be a good thing to go in the opposite direction. It also, you have a certain way of holding your brush, which I think can start to look a little bit uniform. So this is quite a nice way of just changing that slightly, so that it looks a little bit rougher here. It's more suggestive. So tap there, a little bit there. So the wetter the brush, the more diffused this will look. Okay, quite happy with that. Now I'm going to do some leaves here. It does make it a little bit wet, but doesn't matter, that's all part of the fun, isn't it? So into my green, and then, yes, I'm going to go from here and press, because I want the bottom of the brush to create the edge of my leaf. So when I'm doing half a leaf like this, and I'm just going to use the brush shape, push that up, and that then, let's get a nice point. That then looks as if the leaf is underneath. And I'm going to do the same here, but I'm going to add a bit more water. So this leaf is going to look a little bit paler. It's going to look like it's just a little bit further back. It's going to be a little bit wetter. So when I use the golden leaf brush, this is going to move quite a lot more than this one, which I quite like. So what I want to do here is I'm going to add, because I didn't get this looking diffused, I'm now going to put a little bit of green on the top like that, so that when I use my golden leaf brush to diffuse it, it's going to diffuse this little bit of the rose as well. So here we go, nice and wet, tap, squeeze the brush out, don't want any green going anywhere else, tap, tap, and that will look really quite soft. And I might even get that to move a little bit further. So this will now move a little. That's what we wanted. Now I'm going to put a lovely big leaf here, but I'm just waiting for this just to catch a little. So we can now work on this section. I think I'm going to put another little bud here. So we just work on it as we progress around. We can work on different sections, watching it dry, just waiting for it. Let's do another little bit here. So press the whole brush. That's nice. And then I'm just going to create this lovely little bud shape here. I'm going to keep that fairly subtle. Another little section in here. That's lovely, I like that. Now, I don't want to hit that too much with golden leaf brush, but I do want that to dissolve slightly into its surroundings. So this is when I use this brush, little Deerfoot Stippler. So that is now merged into there. So you can create some soft edges. I quite like that hard edge. You can create some little soft edges with the Deerfoot Stippler. So that is just diffused nicely. And I like this idea that this is a little bit nondescript. Right, so we've got some leaves here. Let's put this big leaf here. So into my midnight green. I don't think this is wet. No. So that's perfect. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for this leaf to look like it's under here, tucked underneath. So I'm going to start, it actually tucks underneath this a little bit. I'm just going to press the brush, and as I come down to the center, I'm just going to shape it round. So that's just the center of the leaf is here. So I'm going to come down this side of the leaf and bring it into the center. So we've got that nice leaf shape. And if I just drop a little bit more colour on, we'll have a little bit of variation, which is quite nice. Okay, we just want to suggest a couple of little veins. Do you know, I don't want too many on this. And then I'm going to leave that. I quite like that edge. That looks like it's kind of pushed under. If we just straighten this up slightly, that looks like it's really pushed up against the leaf, the petal, which is lovely. And then I need something here. Now I could stipple a little bit later. Sometimes it's best to just to let it dry and then wait and see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm just going to work a little bit more in the center of this rose. Do something like this, a little bit darker, not too dark. And then back to my stippling brush. Is there anything I want to diffuse here? Or maybe that little bit there. But I do like this. Maybe this bit here. So I'm just going to soften that. And this bit here, so it's not quite so harsh. It'll dissolve into the top. Okay. So this is the beauty of using these stippling brushes. We literally can just catch that and just create a nice little edge. Now I want to put a little bit of this soft yellow. It's a little bit grubby, so I'm going to be careful with this. So this is quite a bright colour, very little of it, but I just want to brighten up the inner section of that rose, because when we put the centre in, that's going to look more interesting. And I'm going to do the same here too, just to brighten that up. Okay, I think that is a very good time to stop.